here to introduce the man of the hour, writer, director, producer, Edgar Wright. These credits I find very moving. Like when I saw them a couple weeks ago at another screening, I got teary because I think the movie has such a beautiful message of like possibility that we can like reshape our society. And you were telling me about them in the aisle just now. Where did they come from?
The graphics department on this film did such an amazing job, headed up by Sophie Powell. And I remember standing in Michael Cera's kind of set, his sort of secret headquarters. You know, we had the scene that they made and they staple and the one that Glenn reads in the bathroom. But all around the walls, they've done so much other stuff. And I remember like looking at it, and we weren't necessarily going to do close-ups of everything. But I said to Marcus Rowland, my production, I said, we should scan all of this, and it should be the end credits. Because they literally like made whole zines. And so it was like Matt Curtis at the end credits, but basically like our graphics department had done all of this stuff. Like that one that he's reading in the bathroom, it was like pages and pages of it. Like, there's so much detail there. Let's just kind of put the whole thing on the end. Then the only thing that we added right in the very, very last thing that we shot, which is very recently, was that Amelia Jones, I saw she was in London, I said, hey, you should be in the end credits, we should make you part of the resistance. So the shot of Amelia Jones with a spray can and a big Anarchy A for Amelia was like the very last thing we did.
Right, even she gets to be included in the resistance. I love this movie. It's a joyful movie about an angry person. It's an anti-authoritarian movie produced by the studio that's about to buy Warner Brothers.
There are some Paramount words here.
It's a huge, big budget, like Hollywood picture about tearing down the structures of our society. And you also made it in about 11 months, if I'm counting right.
We started filming on the 3rd of November 2024. So it was kind of crazy because it's like, you know, my biggest, most complicated movie, but the actual time between green lighting and coming out is like 18 months less.
But by the way, I think this makes this the first film of the second Trump era, by the way. And I was like, this man is going to make us make a bunch of good art. So good job. Another bit of context, I saw you right before you started shooting this film. It was when Chris and I wrapped photography on our most recent film, which cut we have not yet locked. So in the time that we posted the film, you made an entire movie and released it. How did you do that? I need to learn how to make these things faster.
I say that as like, it's not like a bragging thing because I think sort of like, it's definitely, like you say, a dangerous precedent for yourself by turning around. I would say as well, it's not like it's rushed or anything, it's more just like a kind of photo finish. Also, you know, I think the only way to get through something like this was working with a crew that mostly worked with before. There are a couple of new key people on this in the crew, like Julie Daly, costume designer, Shine Martin Maker, Nikki Barrett on Sons. Everybody else had worked on one of the previous movies, and some of the people like my producer and editor and production designer I've been working with since space, you know, TV show. But little pal. I guess it was
lots of people clapping very quietly.
But I think the thing was that like it was the crazy thing about it was just kind of hitting the ground running. You know, it's funny. It's really nice to be here because the actual being at the Vista is all like tied in together with like when me and Michael Cole were writing in early 24 because after the production strikes and obviously everything sort of stopped through the year pretty much. And at the start of 24, it's like Mike Ireland, who was then the head of Paramount, said, "Why?" This has never ever happened to me in my career. He said, "Why aren't we making The Running Man?" You know, he said we should be in production by the end of the year and have it out in late 25, and like that never ever happens. Not to say it's easy, but usually every project you're pushing uphill for something to actually go like bang.
Yes. You're like, sure, we're ready.
But the thing like why I think of this is that I period of the early part of 2024, I was like here in LA writing, and I would come to the thing I would do for fun is come to the Vista on Saturday morning and watch the comedy matinees. Does anybody else do that? Yes, the best. So I feel very like weirdly that this is all wrapped up in the pre-production of this movie. So
What is the comedy matinee that most influenced the writing?
I mean, I guess I don't know. Like Laura and Harvey. I guess my
Yeah. Oh my God. And the who came up with this incredible water pistol gag?
That was in Michael McCall's first draft, for sure. I mean, the one thing that changed about that between drafts, it was like a really good note, and like a script note was actually like a really good one, was that in an early draft, it was like it was in the book, that Victoria, his mum, pressed the button and called the cops. And we got a script note saying that because of Bradley and Elton both helping him, like the note was, one of these guys has got to fuck him over. And so me and McCall were like, I don't want to make Elton a baddie. I don't want to make him one of the baddies. What about if we make him a massive liability? So that's the idea, like he's the one that pushes the button. And he's the one that pushes the button because he wants the goons to come, because he wants to fuck him up. And then just the whole idea of like, they could leave at that point and get away, but he's like, well, I've got all these tracks.
I know.
I need to set off all the tracks, including the one that's upset.
He sounds like a director.
So it was that. So that was the thing that kind of came late of like the idea of like twisting it. We didn't want to change from the book that he wasn't one of the underground. But it was like he could be a big liability.
And Glenn Powell is so good in that scene because he's like driving the story forward, and that's a place where he's like stuck. While Mike is driving the scene, and he's just sitting there. He's just such a good guy when his back is against the wall. And I think no character puts him against the wall better in the movie than Mike Sarah.
No, it's I was so fun. The only actor in the movie that I wrote before was Michael Sarah. And it's just like they're great. So when things like that happen, it's like sort of Michael Sarah and Ben are together. That's sort of such a crackling comic team. It's like, oh no, I can watch these guys.
Yeah, like you're like, how is I can't believe these guys are friends in the movie, like these two characters. I think that's a big part of it.
So yeah,
yeah, for real, there it is. There it is. It made this movie so fast. You told me that it's the most nimble you've had to be in edit, because I know you are like, you're my hero because you prepare everything meticulously ahead of time. The shots, there's so many like amazing like Texas switches and like elaborate like all in one shots in this film, but I know that you also had the ability to keep massaging it as it went, and it reminded me of like, oh, it's like, oh, that's like making an animated film.
Yeah, I guess it was actually like, Michael McCall, like we were in the edit the whole time, like, because we shot from November, and we only like started editing the movie in April. But we were editing through the shoot, but like there were lots of things in the sort of the script where you can keep writing stuff. Like in the script, maybe like Bobby T says one line of commentary when it's live, and then it's like, oh, well, if the TVs are all through the building, you could be talking through the whole of this. So things like that, when Coleman is talking during the YDA, that will come to the end, and you keep working on that stuff. But once you establish where to do these tapes, it sort of gives you the license to have some voiceover bits or things, or even things where you can change what he's saying. You do like a post-nap thing where it's like, okay, you've got him saying some picture, and then you can just start doing something else. So there's a lot of that throughout. But I think the way to get through it was that you had to really like it's not just Glenn's story, it's also, we have to shoot all the other stuff on the other shows. So, you know, like that bit where Bradley is showing the apostate, you know, his apostate, you've got 3 other contestants, you've got other death scenes, you've got like a super cut from the other show. So we're always shooting like, kind of like...
Are you running like 7 units all the time?
No, but you'd be doing like scripts all the time. It'd be like a day, like, we're going to shoot a scene plan, and then we're going to go out to the Shake Shack and shoot somebody, and then we're going to shoot I can't believe the Shake Shack were okay with that. It's pretty cool.
Any attention is good attention.
But it was definitely, there was a point where you kind of felt like, and it's that thing where, you know, as a director, you set the level of ambition yourself.
Right.
So you can't like stand there on a cold night shoot and go to heaven and say, this is like yeah. And it's that thing, it's like, you know, like, if you've read the book and seen the 1987 from it, one of the reasons I wanted to do it was because they barely adapt the book in the 1987 version. And I enjoyed that film. I remember when I was a kid, I already read the book as a 14-year-old before I saw the movie's adaptation. So I sort of visualized this other movie in my head, even before I was a director.
How old were you when you watched the movie?
Well, I guess I started reading...
Probably like 1-year-old.
I started reading some mini books at exactly the right age, which is too young. Running Man I read when I was like 14, and the original film was 18 in the UK, so I didn't watch it on until VHS like a couple of years later. And so it's that thing that it's probably the first time I ever like realised that a book and a film could be two wildly different things.
Were you missed?
No, but I just sort of...
Were you like...
No, I mean, that movie is really fun, but it's like something, it's a different thing.
Right.
But the thing is that, and so, but I'll admit that when I saw the original film, the fact that it was all containing the action, I was like, oh, why didn't they go out into the world? And now, having done 100% of the fun,
Are you like, maybe we should have done it just in a bigger way?
I'd like to say that the makers of the original movie, oh, you guys are smart.
Yes.
Because I'm exhausted.
Should have done it all in human beings. In a laser tag center somewhere.
No, it was definitely the most ambitious thing about doing that and trying to, you know, like even that bit in Killian's office when they're sitting there and you see all the montage of death, like all the other deaths on the thing. It's like we shot during the movie like 34 different death scenes, and on the Blu-ray we decided to string them all together, and it kind of looks like a snuff movie version of Jackass. And the thing is, any location you go to a farm saying, what? Who could be
So you turned yourself into a serial killer. Like, just going everywhere I go, let me think about how, in an inventive way, somebody
we'd all sort of pitch together and come up with different, every single member of the stunt team is in there kind of getting like killed at some point.
Hold on. That's great. That's going on everybody's reel. The thing that is the most, a movie full of astounding things, the thing that I was the most impressed by, I was like, I don't know how we did it, is the YouTube video.
Yeah.
It is a masterpiece.
I mean, that was the thing where in a movie, I mean, hats off to, you know, content creators, but that was easily the most complicated. Those two bits are the most complicated.
It's so complicated, and it's so funny, and so wonderful, and it tells so much of the story, and it's visually so exciting.
Well, it was like the easiest thing to shoot. Danny Eller's bit, so the hardest thing to edit.
Yes.
Because eventually, like, finally, you had a bit where it's like, I've got Danny Eller's on the green screen, and I said, give me some green pieces of paper, give me some green frames that you can bust through, let's have all the props. And that's the one bit where you could just suddenly shoot, just go. But then we had to do all the other, and then the editing of it was, you know, in the movie that we were editing, like, right up until, we were still, like, finishing this movie, like, 6 weeks ago. I think the second possibly it was still the very final thing that we finished.
It makes perfect sense to me, because I can imagine that thing just, like, hanging over, like, a sort of Damocles over the whole movie, like, it's over there, we're gonna chip away at it.
And also all of the screens behind and all of the bits of the show, and we had to kind of finish all of those. And we hired this amazing, the graphics in the movie, we decided to hire this team called Too Fresh, who is based out of Seattle in LA, but they do all the, NFL, it's based in
They make Cletus,
I mean,
an NFL robot?
Well, they do all the kind of graphics for like CBS, and so it was just that thing of like, let's get the kind of the sports guys to do all of the graphics, all of the running hand.
Right. Let's sort of look like the real thing.
Yeah. So there's like those guys. So it's rather than get like a film graphics people to do that.
Right. To get someone who went to art school to figure out what an NFL broadcast looks like.
Yeah.
Just get someone who does that.
Yeah, they did an amazing job. It's like just incredible work where you just sort of say you cannot go over the top.
Right. Talk about this cast that are really, really. You said I didn't realize you only worked with Mike before.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Like I think sort of there were, people like Glenn was, the great thing about Glenn for us was that he wasn't an existing action hero in a way that like we needed Ben Richards to be somebody that at the start of the movie, he is like an out-of-work dad.
Right.
And he's not like, I think a lot of action movies, recent ones, you're watching films about people who are already the best at what they do.
Yes.
Like, so,
Jack Reacher.
or like I love John Wick, but it's like the arc is like, he's the best assassin in the world in Act 1, and in Act 3 he's still the best assassin in the world. But like, I love those movies, but it is like, you needed like Glenn to be somebody that, he looks tough because he's doing construction jobs, but you want to feel that he doesn't have a chance, that he's completely outgunned, and that he's kind of like wildly improvising. And I kept thinking about, we talked a lot about performances that we liked in older movies, like, Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark is such a great performance because you're such daring dude, he's an adventurer, but he also is kind of like winging it for most of the movies.
Yes.
And he makes lots of mistakes. It's the same with like, Bruce Willis in the first Die Hard. It's like, it's difficult to remember back then that when that film came out, it's like, oh, the guy from Moonlighting is in an action film. And then what's great about it is he's really vulnerable in it. Even though he's a cop, he's on his heels. So that was the thing with Glenn, it's like sort of like, he's got that everyman quality. And also seeing somebody who, is as charming as you would expect in terms of like, he's exactly the person you see in interviews, but it's sort of making him like a human being out and just kind of like poking him and throwing things at him and making him like hold out. It's like inherently like.
It's fun for us because I think there's something about him where you go like, oh, he can take it.
I mean, it was great to kind of do an action movie where you have a character that is not in control of events. That he's kind of mostly on the defensive a lot of the time. It's something I really like about Jackie Chan as an action hero. Bruce Lee's signature is like, come on, Jackie Chan is like, blocky, getting away.
He's in trouble.
He's in trouble all the time. And Glenn in this movie is like, it is really sort of third act that he starts to go on the offensive and saying, oh fuck it, I'm gonna be the guy that you're portraying me to be. But it's just like great working with him because he just, but then it's an ambitious highway because all the action has to be designed around Glenn at the centre of everything and what can he do, like he wants to do as much time as possible and designing those seasons around that, but then that's how, you're saying about some of the wines and Texas switches all comes out of that because you're sort of trying to figure out how long can we go without cutting,
Right. How long did you go without cutting? What was the one that what's the long shot?
Well, I guess it's things like the thing when he runs down and slides into the escalator. That's probably a longer one than that.
Or what's like the craziest one you the shotgun plan, the longest, apart from the big, scary, dangerous stunts. But the stuff that required like all of their superpowers.
I think that whole sequence in the Boston like halfway house, there's so many like moving parts to it, like just like different levels, different rooms, inside, outside, the sewer, the basement on fire. Like it was just, I mean, and my memory of doing the movie is that you have like a full-on day doing action, but we'd always start with first you have to do a meeting at this other location to talk about the fire. we should point out, and this is the person that I think, even when reviews say this person should be in more, even I agree. But in the part of the amazing Katie O'Brien is in the house. I should say that one of the things, the elements is Kate, in the scene where Katie's escaping from the casino and does the slide over the car bonnet, it was the coldest night shoot I've ever been on in my life. And I think everybody on that sort of shoot was like, at the end, I got back to my house and it was in Glasgow. Like Glasgow in November is rough, especially if you're by the river. And I remember getting back to like hotels and emptying my nose and never be warm ever again. I genuinely lost circulation in my legs for like 10 weeks.
How are they doing that? It seems like you've recovered. Yeah, so, it's what we do for our art. It's true. This book is, if I'm not mistaken, set in 2025.
Yes.
Yes.
The book was published under a pseudonym, Richard Bachman, in 1982. He wrote it in 1973. Wow. And the cover of the original paperback, first edition paperback from 1982, says this on the cover. If you put this on the poster there, it says two other notes. The cover of the book says, "Welcome to America in 2025, where the best men don't run for president, they run for their lives."
You guys are probably thinking about that the whole time you're shooting the movie, right? Was it like a group therapy? Make a dystopian movie as our society is becoming a dystopian.
I think the thing is that you can't really second guess anything, and also the news moves so fast that at a point like the science fiction and fact is becoming like a bleeding edge.
Yeah.
And the fact that in the movie we never even have to say out loud or explain what deepfakes and AI are. It's never said aloud, but it's like, well, we all know what this is. And the only thing that's surprising to the movie is how fast they can do it. That it's almost happening in real time. And actually, one of the lines given everything that's going on about AI and responsibility, I love that even Josh Brolin, the most Machiavellian sort of producer of all time, even he has to concede at one point that they can't take the whole thing. But we need those little bits,
just a little bit.
Yeah. Sort of the humans are like the happy accidents. Because even he has to say, oh no, we can't take the whole thing, but actually humans provide that little something.
I know. That's so precious. He's like an auteur.
Yeah.
I want these murders to go just so.
But it was we didn't put the date on the movie because we thought it's a different 2025, and the idea of it being retro futuristic. There's actually next week. Actually, you saw the trailer for Brazil before this, right? Yeah. I picked all the trailers and they're showing Brazil. If you've never seen that film, they're showing at midnight next weekend. And in that movie, it's made in 1985, but it has 40s styling, 1940s styling, because 1984 was published in 1948. So we just thought, well, if the book was published in 1982, then this is Stephen King's idea of 2025.
It's like an 80s idea of 2025.
So some things.
But then it turned into a 2025 idea of 2025.
Well, I guess it's the idea of, do you know that phrase, the and shit in it?
Yes.
I guess it's the idea of in Uptown, there's everything's glossy and shiny and sort of Apple Store, and then everything else has gone to shit.
Yes.
And so, it was, but designing all that stuff and actually having all of and when we were first looking on the adaptation, it's like, well, do we have to update all for smartphones? And then it's like, smartphones in cinema are so boring, and they're sort of like the death of the thriller, so we thought we'd keep the smartphones to sort of a minimum, and just keep all the analog technology, mailboxes, envelopes, the tapes. And it's funny, because everything is exhaustive about, well, the micro theatre, My brother designed that.
Really? I thought there was a lot of Oscar in this movie.
Yeah, with the frowny face when it's empty and the smiley face when it's on.
Is Oscar the first person you talked about in a movie?
About this?
Yeah.
Well, this
You guys start cooking up stuff, you start drawing.
and Marcus wrote in the production.
Yeah.
I mean, literally the first thing we did with the timeline is like, start boarding, get out on the road and start looking at locations and start designing things, start designing the world. Like, there's an amazing concept artist, George Powell as well, who was on the junior movies, did a bunch of stuff. And there was this thing like trying to design the cars where it's like, okay, well, what if in the downtown, sort of the slumside area, all of these kind of gas guzzlers have been retrofitted to be EVs, and then uptown, we've got all of the kind of like 80s futuristic cars,
Yes.
and getting them like a CGI, like, trims and things like that, you know?
They all look like the 80s idea of what like a nice car was supposed to be.
But the reason we didn't put a date on it is because sci-fi movies have never picked the date down the road far enough. Like another trailer that you saw, Escape from New York. So now everybody's like, the year is 1997. Like, all our favorite, like 2001 is in the rearview mirror.
Yes.
Blade Runner was set in 2019.
Yes.
The original Running Man was set in 2017. So it's just like, don't put a date on it at all.
Chris and I have a rule, don't put any numbers in the movie.
Numbers.
I don't want any numbers. I don't want to know anyone's age. I don't want to know what date it is. I don't know how many hours are from here to there. Because someone inevitably just takes out a notebook. And it's like checking with a calculator. I was like, well, I'm never going to tell you. Here it is. Never again. You did the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a smart thing to do, but like, it was really fun sort of designing that world. I had a bit of a worry, are there any British people in the room? I sort of got a bit worried that somebody would say, hey, how come London is the uptown bit and Glasgow and Scotland is down? So in the opening credits, Glenn sort of walks from Scotland.
Yeah, you had to shut down and walk from one place to the other.
We did the network building where he walks in is Wembley Stadium.
Really?
And Wembley Stadium is obviously one of the most famous landmarks in London. It's digitally removed and replaced by the network building.
Well, let's give it up for